Welcome to OTR, Friendly Debate. And for our next mini debate, we are at another brewery, Ravinia Brewing, which has, very graciously allowed us this space to record an episode here up on their rooftop patio.
That's nice.
Yeah, it's nice
place. I like it.
Yeah. And this week, not really have anything to do with why we're here, but Pokemon versus Digimon, I guess, is what we're discussing today. And Pat is taking the side of Pokemon, Lando the side of Digimon. And just to, clear the room or clear the air of my biases, I have more experience with Pokemon. I definitely saw more of the show, saw the movies, and I played a little of the games. I just could never really figure them out as a kid, so I didn't really play them much. But I was more into Mario and stuff. I don't know why I didn't give RPGs a chance. But just a quick anecdote is that when I was growing up, we would drag my parents to all sorts of shitty movies, and my dad would usually tell us "Oh, I didn't care for that movie" or whatever. But my mom would basically seem like she liked every kids movie that we dragged her to, except for the first Pokemon movie. She was like, "I got to be honest, I did not care for that at all." So. If it was my mom's opinion, she might pick Digimon, but I don't know what I'm going to pick this time.
Did you take her to see the Digimon movie?
No, because
Is there a Digimon movie?
I feel like I never saw Digimon. I remember it existing. I remembered, and until today, Andy sent a video to us that showed a piece of the commercial of the little Tamagotchi-like Digimon that I didn't remember until just today, but I remember that. But yeah, I didn't really... I remember it being around, so I kind of want to hear maybe...
This is a strong start for me.
Yeah. Well, I'm coming at it a little bit blind because I'm not really a huge Pokemon fan either, though. So maybe Digimon's story and its anime, or maybe it's video games or something will impress me and make me want to check it out. So I don't know.
I can deal with that. Okay.
This kind of sets the stage.
Yeah. So I think I want to hear maybe from Orlando first about Digimon and why he picked it.
So I picked Digimon because just growing up, it was just a more exciting show. There was actually a storyline to it. And now, as, an adult, I can appreciate that there's, an adult, I can appreciate the darker themes to it, the grittiness to it. I mean, they're not, like Pokemon where they're in this fantasy world that there's no problems. These kids could go off and go catch Pokemon. They don't have to deal with homework. They're kid's got a backpack. He's rolling around the streets just having fun. The Digimon world was a world of death, divorce, impending doom of the digital world. And then in later seasons, the actual world. So I think that storyline that just kind of builds up into something grand and has these dark tones to it, I can really appreciate.
Okay. And Pat, any your opening?
My opening? Yeah. I want to say, I think at this point we're still trying to catch them all. When you say Pokemon, people know what you're talking about. It is everything and everywhere. But bigness isn't its only quality. You see, Pokemon has a heart that I think Digimon lacks. It has the cute characters, sure, but that gives you, something to take you on the journey to being a Pokemon master. There's a progression here. There's the cute Pikachu that you start out with, and then there's Articuno and Zapdos that are these mythic, god Pokemon. And so I think that trajectory, that journey is explored through the anime, the manga, trading card game, video games. And so it presents, starts with this linear plot line that builds, but also the whole ecosystem lets you explore different parts of this very diverse, multifaceted universe. If you'll allow me, I want to quote Professor of Education Joseph Tobin. He theorizes that the success of the franchise was due to the long list of names that can be learned by children. So the fact that kids get into the Pokemon song, the Pokemon rap, it has a lot to offer. And I think that's why I chose Pokemon.
All right.
That's what hooks me.
Okay. So I've heard your openings, and now I want to just know, where did your franchise begin, And what were its first like big hits? What was its breakout product or show or whatever it might be? So who wants to tackle that first?
I think if you want, Pat,
Sure.
I think yours came out a little bit before mine, so.
Yeah. So it was, there's some things in Japan happening in like 96, 97, but Pokemon in the US, 1998's the year. We got the anime, we got the cards, we got the games. Things are blowing up. So, and it wasn't too long after that 1998 release that Pokemon trading cards were banned in my grade school because of dumb kids making trades, later regretting them, crying to the teachers that they call
We've
mom.
all been there, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm going to trade you this Charizard for this little Weedle over here.
Yeah.
It's a great trade there.
And then those kids went to Cooley. Anyway, so similarly, they tried to ban the Game Boy games. That one didn't stick. That was reversed, I think, after a couple weeks of kids just blatantly disregarding it. And so, in my mind, Pokemon, this huge wave came in the late 90s, and it was all-consuming. I watched cartoons, had the cards. I would my mom worked at Toys R Us for a brief period, so I all right, Mom, I saved up. Here's $5. Give me a booster pack. And so, yeah, from 1998 on to the early aughts, here's this kid in rural Ohio spending all his money on Pokemon things. And I don't think it was really until Magic the Gathering that I started to see it dividing into different camps. Wow. But for, it had a good run there, number of years where it was just the hotness and nothing could compete. And so now we know, there's games for every system. There's movies, there's TV shows, there's manga you can read if you don't want to watch the anime.
Killed over the cards too, right?
Yeah. Be careful in Target parking lots. You might get stabbed or murdered over taking the last booster pack.
Did this actually happen, or are you just...
This is a real thing. We'll put the link in the comments.
Oh. What had happened? What did they release? Just more cards?
Just more cards. Yeah.
And I caused adult men to kill each other.
Well, as we know with many fandoms, it is the adult men that ruin things. So,
as with most things.
Pokemon's great, but it's not exceptional in that regard.
You can't think against Pokemon in that realm.
So,
Digimon have anything similar?
That's a brief history.
Digimon. So how did it get started, and how did it break into the mainstream, especially here in the U.S.?
Yeah. So I don't know about any killings in the name of Digimon.
Yeah.
No sacrificial killings,
No
for Agumon or Gabumon, but
those are made up names.
No,
Gabumon.
Those are some of the names.
Hey, the Gabumon.
You just put Mon at the end of a name, and you got a Digimon. So Digimon got its start as a sort of competitor to Tamagotchi, right? So those little toys that you had, the little keychains. You have this alien. I think it was like an alien egg that just gets born, and then you have to take care of it. I had one at some point, and it died. I'm pretty sure I had to start over again and reset, and then it would die again. But
you're supposed to take care of it.
You're supposed to take care of it.
Yeah.
As a child, how are you going to take care of a living thing, a digital living thing? I mean, it's kind of hard, right? But so it was Digimon was brought out as a competitor to Tamagotchi.
Wasn't it made by the same company?
What's that?
It was made by the same company, no?
I believe it was like the answer to, we think that girls are going to want to deal with the Tamagotchi, and the boys want Digimon because they're going to battle it out, and that's tough. That's a boy thing.
I thought they're both Bandai, but I could be wrong.
Yes, I believe so. But so it was like an answer to Tamagotchi, and that's where Digimon came out.
The difference is that they could fight, though, right?
They could fight. That was the difference. There were other differences. I believe, if you put your Digimon to go to sleep, if you left a light on for it, it wouldn't go to sleep or something. I think there was an added extra bonus feature or something. So that was where Digimon kind of came about, and then it became this whole thing with the 1999, cartoon series. It started off with these several kids that were the Digi-destined. They were out one day and there's like the snow fell and they get transported to this magical digital world where they get paired up with a Digimon, and it's all on this, you know, digital world. I think it was called like File Island or something, like File, you know. And so they get paired up, and it's like a very intimate, close link with your Digimon. It's not like Pokemon where you have to, you know, you find an animal on, you know, in nature, and then you capture them.
So are you saying that Ash and Pikachu aren't close?
Well, I'm saying all the other animals that he enslaves
Ride and
are
die,
kept
man.
in a ball, yay big, and kept there for most of their lives. But no, so they have these digital monsters that are like their companions, and basically they have to save this digital world from impending doom.
Okay.
So that's where they hit it big, essentially.
Right. Okay. Okay. So having heard how your two franchises got started, I want to do some quick, you know, brief head-to-heads. So keep it brief. Don't cut it out hard.
Lawyers always keep it very brief.
Yeah. Head-to-heads on. Let's start with the anime shows, the cartoon shows that aired late '90s, early 2000s, right? For each year.
Yeah.
Things.
1999 for Digimon.
98, I think, is when the anime came out.
Pretty comfortable with that. So let's do a head-to-head on this TV series and movies, like the animes as a whole, I guess.
Okay. Sure. So, I mean, I guess like I was kind of talking about earlier, with the Digimon cartoon, there were 7 kids. They're the Digi-destined that get transported to this world. They're assigned not assigned, I guess they get paired up with these Digimon, and they form this close bond with basically their pets. You know, they're digital monsters, but they're...
You almost said it to the tune of the song.
We can sing that afterwards. But they, you know, they bond with this Digimon that start off in one form, and then as they're going along in the show, they evolve into...
Why does that sound familiar?
But here's the difference, though, I will say. They evolve into something bigger and badder, but then they revert back to their cute selves and are able to hang out with their companion.
Oh.
So, my personal favorite character, Tai, and these are all characters that are like, I think the English version.
Taichi?
No, it's a different name, but Tai with his Pokemon Agumon. There's
Pokemon?
Matt with Gabumon.
Yeah.
Izzy, Tentamon, Mimi, Palmon, TK, which is Ty's little brother. He's got Patamon, which is the evolution of that guy. Let me tell you.
Right.
But
I think we need some like visuals of these.
we will.
Yeah.
We will. So it's just this journey that they go through in this File Island, and for them it's weeks of them hanging out in this digital world. But ultimately, when they get snapped back to reality, it's a matter of minutes or something, I think. Yeah. So
It's like a psychedelic trip.
it's a trip, man.
And you hinted at it being dark, though. Like, what's dark about it? Or what?
So they deal with concepts of, I believe it's Ty. I might be wrong. Ty and TK's parents are going through a divorce. So there's those elements of like, oh man, you're as a kid, and you know your parents are getting this divorce, and you're dealing with all these issues. They deal with death in the show.
Of
The Digimon
kids,
don't
or-
actually. The Digimon don't actually die. They kind of just disintegrate into little like pixelated kind of things,
Okay.
and they'll come back. But if the
Very Buddhist.
companion, if the companion dies, then the Digimon is gone forever.
So they've
So-
dying in the show, or
No, the kids don't die, but TK's.
me? Kept going on about death, divorce.
Yeah.
So it's sad though, because
Yeah.
it's, TK's Digimon, Patamon, he evolves into Angemon, and he does die, and it's, it's this little kid. He's younger. TK is younger, and I will be corrected here. It was Matt. It's Matt's brother. So Matt was kind of like the second in charge of the group, Ty being the leader of the group.
So nobody actually dies. They all come back. Okay, we got it.
His Digimon dies, and it's like losing a pet. And at that point, that point of the show, they don't know that they're coming back. So it's a loss of this pet that he's grown so attached to. And granted, this kid is he's younger than the other ones.
Yeah.
So it's very, very emotional. It's very sad.
That plot line sounds very similar to a show that came out before Digimon. If you recall the beginning, the start of the plot line in the Pokemon anime, you know, Ash meets up with Pikachu. He's given it by Professor Oak. Ash's dad is out of the picture randomly. I don't know. There's a little bit of a romance.
I think it's Professor Oak.
Yeah, I think, yeah. There's no DNA tests, I guess. But, yeah, so Ash is with Pikachu, and, you know, there's a storm, and they fight the birds and everything, and then, like, Pikachu gets toasted. And so Ash doesn't know that Pikachu's going to come back, and he's got him, like, in his bicycle, and he's, like, riding to the Poke Center. Like, that's real shit, because you don't know as a kid that you think Pikachu could die. You know, you don't know anything. It's 1998. You haven't seen, you know, 20 years of Poke history after that. So I think that gets to some of the darkness.
He says, oh man, I've got to go to the Poke Center to put him in a Pokeball.
Yeah, well, no, they put him on a Poke operating table, I think, you know, and nurse whatever takes care of him. Anyway, so yeah, Pokemon does go to those, I think, dark areas. Cubon's mom is famously dead and haunts things. There's Pokemon who are literally toxic sludge. There's big, like, multinational corporations, Silphco and things that are clearly just evil.
And also, before we did this episode, we did talk about Cubone's mom, and it would make, like, the perfect...
It's wearing its mom's head.
Yeah, it would
literally
make a perfect, like, movie origins. Cubone, the murder of his mom, like, it'd be a perfect movie for, like, maybe, like, not...
Yeah, I mean, maybe a Detective Pikachu 2.
Oh.
Because, yeah, I mean, so you start off with Ash being the main character. The one thing, you talked about them being kids, I think a difference is in Japan, you know, kids are allowed to do a lot more. So you think it's like this fine world, but you guys should watch Old Enough on Netflix.
Oh, yeah.
There's some of these toddlers on air.
It's so
great. So you can just imagine that's Ash Ketchum. His mom's like, okay, go to Professor Oak's place, fetch me a Pokemon. Anyways, to the point, though. There's the plot line there of the anime. It all focuses on Ash's travels to become the very best Pokemon trainer, defeat the Elite Four, become the regional Poke Master.
So the stakes are pretty much, I want to be a Pokemon Master.
And what are the stakes?
He's got the drive.
He's got the drive.
What are the stakes, I guess? Like,
so the Digi world is at stake. Initially there's a there's Devimon, which is basically just like the devil in Devilmon essentially, that's threatening the digital world, and that's like their first big boss battle. But once they get done with him and they're victorious, they go to different bosses, and eventually it bleeds out into the real world where the digital world will blend into the real world, and then there's chaos, and like these Digidestined are kind of thrust into this really overwhelming sense of like responsibility for kids,
Yeah.
So, I maybe remember the Pokemon movie, but I remember that was the introduction of Mewtwo, I believe, at least into the anime.
And along those same lines, Mewtwo is this like experimental, tortured Pokemon that communicates telepathically.
And what are the stakes there? I kind of remember them being big, but I don't know if
Well, he wants to destroy the world. He's been so angered and has no heart because of how he's been mistreated. And so, it's up to Ash to kind of save the world and, in a lot of ways, find the humanity in this Pokemon.
Okay. All right, so, Turtle, I think I heard enough about the animes.
Have you though?
I think so, because I feel like you guys could talk all day about that. But
we can.
Let's go to the next head-to-head. Let's say the video game. So Pokemon, I definitely have a familiarity with the video games, just like, again, from just knowing, just seeing them throughout the years. But I don't know much about the Digimon video games. Are there some, and what are they like?
There are a bunch of Digimon games. I don't know the extent of them. I know that.
Wow, you can tell somebody really studied for this one.
Thanks to our friend of the pod, Andy here. So the Digimon little pocket battle monsters that you had after the Tamagotchis, that kind of like transformed into later being like the handheld devices that they have in the show. that are called Digivices. Basically, they use them throughout the show, and
what do these Digivices do?
they do digi things.
Okay.
So, so basically, the Digivice is like just a link to their Digimon. So it has all their, all their vitals and how are they doing, and throughout the show, it's kind of a connection to the digital world. So in later seasons, they kind of like point it at the laptop or like a digital device, and then they get sucked in back into Fire Island or wherever they're going. But it's their connection to their Digimon. In the real world, in like us, after the Tamagotchi type device, they came out with the handheld looking Digivice that essentially does the same thing. You have your Digimon. You are able to walk around and you find other Digimon or other people that you're fighting with your Digimon, and it's kind of a little bit like a Pokemon Go, like way before Pokemon Go. So that's kind of like the start to, I guess, the video games.
So it's a pedometer attached to a Tamagotchi.
Essentially. But then obviously there's different Digimon games that get a little bit more extensively. Some the actual Digimon game that comes out for an actual system is you're similar to Pokemon, but your Digimon's not gonna always listen to what you're saying. You have to build a relationship with the Digimon. You have to coach your Digimon, and it depends a little bit more on is your Digimon going to listen to you.
Familiar concept. You have to have enough levels in Pokemon, otherwise they disobey you.
This is the PlayStation game, Digimon World, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which I believe Andy mentioned is on eBay for like $300.
Yeah. Crazy high. Didn't get the respect it deserved back then. And I think some of the other Digimon games are pretty good. I don't have the most experience with them because I never played them, but I did like the card game. We'll get into that later.
Okay, so and is there something interesting you could tell us about Pokemon games or your experience with them throughout the years?
I would love to talk about the Pokemon games. So, you have the main line of games starting on Game Boy Color. The Japanese first ones were red and green. In the US, red and blue. Yellow followed, gold, silver, all that stuff. So you have stuff from the first Game Boy to like the Switch of the actual like training, battling sort of concept. However, I have really enjoyed all the periphery games as well. Like, don't get me wrong, I loved playing red and blue and gold. Okay. And silver and everything else.
What about yellow?
Love playing yellow, Surfing Pikachu. And I've actually been meaning to get the most recent installation of the like mainline training one. But as a kid, I really enjoyed. They had a Pokemon Pinball cartridge for Game Boy that had a tilt sensor in it. So you could like you're tilting a pinball machine. You could like use that to make the ball go around.
Isn't that cheating?
Oh, it's great. It's great. They had Pokemon, the trading card game on Game Boy, which was also amazing because you could play that for free, and you don't have to spend money each time on card packs like the IRL trading card game. But obviously a product of its time because now they would have microtransactions. Let's see what else has been fun. They did a Twitch Plays Pokemon. Speaking of the mainline ones, this was when we were in law school, actually. I think I watched it a lot in civil procedure. And so, yeah, they had Twitch Plays Pokemon where everybody on this Twitch stream is putting in commands to try and make their way through the Pokemon game, which is very fun. Let's see, what else has... I guess we can't... Yeah, you brought up Pokemon Go earlier, and I think that actually retained a lot of its popularity. I remember playing it like the first day it came out, and walking around my neighborhood, there was like other people playing the game. And I'm like, oh shit, this is like a real thing.
While we were studying for the bar.
Yeah, while we were studying for the bar, because there was one of the pop-up things at the coffee shop we were always at.
Yeah.
So I just like check in with Wii.
I did play that.
Yeah.
I played it too.
That's even a bigger thing now. They have the like pedometer wrist thing for it, so you can play it as you go. You can battle other people. So, you know, for Pokemon Go, they have the wrist device that's sort of like the pedometer, but you can also use that to interact with other people. And I think that's also like a motion control. So when you throw Pokeballs in the Switch game, it like tracks that better with the controller and everything. So, you know, oh my God, there's so much to say. There's Pokemon Snap, Pokemon Safari, those kinds of games for 64.
That one didn't do it for me. It's
Pokemon Stadium, where you could plug your Pokemon Red cartridge into your N64 controller and offload your Pokemon and battle with them with their same stats in Pokemon Stadium. You could trade them together. I mean, oh my God, who hasn't lost some data with a shitty link cable between two Game Boys? Yeah, so there's... video games are so cool. I can't wait to actually get back into the new Switch one.
But there's an open world one coming out, right? It's kind of open world?
Right. GTA Pokemon. Yeah. Let's see. I got to look back at my notes here.
I have real frustrations with Pokemon Go because when it came out, I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. And like in Edgewater, there was actually like a Pokemon Go community forum thing. And it was really weird because I'd see these groups out in like the corner, like just like with their phones out, and they're like, I've got this guy. But I collected a couple of them just walking around, and at that time I was like kind of traveling to different states, and and I was just kind of it was after the bar, so I was like kind of just
listless wanderer.
Yeah, I was just a wanderer around states. I couldn't go out of the country at that time because I was poor, but I'd go to different states and I'd collect all these different Pokemon, and I'm like, man, this is kind of cool. Like once I do go back to traveling, like I wonder what they have in in Europe somewhere where I could get.
Yeah, they had like Mr. Mime in Spain or something.
But then I came back from Minneapolis.
Is Mr. Mime canonically Spanish? I thought he'd be French.
I thought he was French.
I think, or maybe just in Europe. I don't know. I remember
let us know in the comments, what nationality Mr. Mime is.
But I came back from Minneapolis, and they were all gone, and I was so mad. Like I got so many. I was like, man, like I'm walking around this city. It was small Chicago. Like I'm going on a sky deck and everything. Like I'm catching all these unique Pokemon that are not in the city, and I came back home and it's gone.
Yeah, it sounds a little bit like operator error. But
I had an Android at the time.
Yeah, there you go. To their credit, though, I think that Pokemon having made a successful VR game when like fucking Zuckerberg is still trying to push this metaverse stuff that is just absolute garbage. I think that like
you're gonna sound like a fool when he finally gets it off the ground.
I would love to be proven wrong, but right now it's bullshit.
So, and you touched upon the trading card game, Pat.
Yes.
Digimon, I think, also has a trading card game.
Correct.
Had a trading card game, right?
Correct. Yeah.
And what was that one? Was it the same kind of concept, or was it
similar concept? I thought it was easier to because I had both types of cards. Like I felt like Pokemon cards were more. They lend themselves more to just collecting them all, like they're the Pokemon, collect them all. And it was just like, okay, I got this one. I'm going to put it in my little binder. So we all had binders. I know you had them. And then you don't touch them. You don't play the actual game that they were created for. Like Digimon, I also had them in a binder, but...
Hard disagree.
I thought you were...
But I used to play with, like, my brother and, like, some kids from around the neighborhood. We would play Digimon, like, the cards. And it was just a lot more fun because the gameplay was better than Pokemon with the little rocks that you put on them, and you got to take those off.
Tokens and stuff. Did you ever play Digimon or Pokemon in person, the card game in person with someone else, like a meetup?
Well, like with like neighbor kids and like my brother. Yeah.
What is this other option?
Online.
What I enjoyed the community of Pokemon is that you could go to like these tournaments, or Toys R Us hosted one, and they got like, prizes and stuff.
I never did that.
There's like a couple local like trading card shops that would have tournaments for it. Of course, like I got my ass whooped by some 30-year-old that had money to buy all the good stuff. But I think that was a really like a learning moment for me. Just again, 30-year-olds ruin everything.
30-year-old men, right?
Yes, particular.
Yeah.
The ones that kill each other over Pokemon cards.
Right. So they're problematic fans, but who doesn't have that? Yeah. But I did enjoy meeting up with other people, just like Pokemon Go, seeing that there is this broader fandom and connecting with people that way. And I think overall, the people that played Pokemon were friendlier than, say, the people that were at the Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading card championships.
Oh, I played those as well.
Yeah, no, I loved Yu-Gi-Oh!
But they were, what, assholes or something?
Oh, they were giant, yeah. Yeah, this is like people flipping the game board and stuff at Yu-Gi-Oh! But no, Pokemon, you know, I think it was a very friendly community around the trading card game. The mechanics of it itself, I think that Yu-Gi-Oh! Has more complicated rules, like the summons and things.
Yeah.
You know, I could learn Pokemon as, like, a third grader, whatever, and, like, figure out enough to battle.
Yeah.
I would say Digimon was probably in the middle of that. So as Pokemon's, like, very, like, easy to, you know, play these little tokens and everything, I think Digimon was kind of, like, a little bit more complex, but not Yu-Gi-Oh!
Okay, so I've heard from you guys about the various products of your respective franchises. Who wants to start first with the closing?
I would love to,
Okay.
if you'd let me.
I'll let you.
So,
I'll allow it.
let's think about the cultural ripples of the Pokemon series, property, and as a way to talk about its importance. You have the What's That Pokemon segment that is endlessly memeable. You have the Chin Pokemon episode of South Park, where it is just completely, you know, set in stone that this is a cultural phenomenon. Basically, it has its properties everywhere, but more importantly, it has people riffing on it, a playfulness around it. There's a huge fan base that, what I'm especially proud of, they do translations to make the games even more accessible. Again, Nintendo isn't always, you know, the most friendly party to fan-made things, but you can get a translation of Pokemon Red in Esperanto. And so, like a lot of things, when they argue for the accessibility of the franchise to get you hooked, and then the depth to keep you going. And so I think that it's culturally more important. It has more to offer to more people with a lower barrier to entry. And so in my mind, that's what makes a good series.
So what I'm hearing is that Pat's basically arguing that Pokemon is, you know, this mainstream title, and that they make a lot of money with all the various facets of Pokemon.
Did I ever mention that?
I just find it interesting because every other position Pat's ever taken has never included that. And I think there's always been some slight whenever I try to use the numbers. Okay, the numbers
This is one
game.
case where people recognize it's good, and it's gotten big because of that. It's not a cash grab.
So what I'll say for Digimon is that I think that, yeah, it's not as big as Pokemon, and it might be seen as like a little brother to Pokemon because,
All right,
you know,
that's great. Thank you.
So, but you know, the older brother's not, you know, necessarily the best brother. That's what I'll say. Digimon has just a very well done storyline, and I feel like from the storyline you can gather a lot of very, you know, emotional themes. You can get a lot of just kind of, you know, a lot of substance to it. Whereas Pokemon, I think it's lacking in that it's just kind of throwing itself out in every single aspect of capitalism. So I think Digimon just has this more emotional setting to it, and it lends itself to video games that might not have been as popular as Pokemon, but they're still, you know, good by their own right and still selling for hundreds of dollars, you know, decades later. But I think really
I'm glad Digimon Corp's getting some of that money from eBay resellers.
So I think just at its core, Digimon is a more heartfelt, you know, show, game, card game.
All right.
What say you, Mucci?
So, you know, look at my head-to-heads. Talking about the anime, I am interested in the fact that Digimon is a bit darker. I'm kind of thinking, though, like, what am I going to want to put on today if I went home and watched it? Honestly, the answer is probably neither. Just because, you know, it's a kid. I don't have the nostalgia attached to it. It's a kid show. And a lot of times when I try to watch a kid show, I'm like, I don't know. I watch anime. I'll watch any anime, but I don't know if I will, like, watch a kid's anime right now. So those are kind of a wash. the games, the video games, I think Pokemon's definitely got, the big library, and it's still kind of going today. I really appreciate that. I think that's really interesting, and I would probably pick up a Pokemon game. If I had $300 to spare, I might pick up that Digimon game because it does sound pretty interesting. I love retro PS1 games, but
So you're saying there's a big barrier to entry for the Digimon series?
sure, but and then the trading card games. I'm kind of interested in both of those. I think I'd be interested in playing either one of those. So I think a slight edge will give Pat his first ever win in a pop culture debate, I believe.
Yeah.
With Pokemon.
I like how he
Thank
had
you,
it out
Victor.
here already.
Well, he's not putting on his Digimon hat on the other side here.
So, yes, Pat gets the win this week. I don't know if we do points for these things, but, whatever. Pat gets a point, Lando gets half a point, because it was a slight edge, I think. So, anyway.
Just going with the lame street media right now, right?
I'm going with the lame street media. This has been a friendly debate. Pokemon versus Digimon.
Friendly mini debate.
So